Hi, hello, and welcome to the vulnerable point. Attack the vulnerable point, part 3. Okay, so you have to look for the vulnerability in the position. Vulnerability, as I mentioned earlier in the previous lessons, like some squares or pieces which are exposed to attack. Okay, so once they are exposed to attack, means it's vulnerable. And I also told the difference between the weakness and vulnerability. Weakness is the inability of a piece to sustain the attack, and vulnerability is like once they have so much weakness, the position gets exposed to attack. Okay, so now we can see position here. Here you can feel that the b2 is somehow getting vulnerable because this knight on a4 is strong. So first we need to get all the pieces in order to attack. So we can basically bring the pieces. So rook a c8. So getting the pieces there, and now they play rook c1. Okay, so now we want to attack the king. Okay, so you can see the major pieces for them are in the other part of the board. So basically they don't have much pieces near the king. Okay, so the king is going to become more vulnerable if you could get some pieces to attack on the king side. So what we can do is this bishop uh, on b7 is not so strong at the moment. So if we could get it here, that would be great. Another idea is this f6 bishop also doesn't have any diagonal. You see, the pawn on e5 is restricting the mobility. So if we could open this line, then we have great chances of attack. So it would be logical to open up the position with d5. Okay, so d5. So they capture. Now we got some attackers on the king side. Okay, now we'll see what happens if they take on e5. If they take on e5, now we can make a sacrifice to make the king position more vulnerable. That is exposed to attack. Okay, so bishop takes a2, king takes, and then we can get the queen to a5. So there's a discovery check coming, and also it's a double check. Okay, so if they try to hide, we need to sacrifice to make the king vulnerable. So knight c3, they have to take. We take. Now you see there's a pawn there, and these squares became very weak, so it's vulnerable to attack. Okay, so you have moves like this, so there's no defense. Like see if they go knight c4, we can basically see you can take this. So let me choose this option. Knight c4, we can just get the pieces there. So it's not difficult to spot here. And even if they play this, for instance, let's say they want to block this line, then we can go queen b4. So knight has to come there. Now a3 is quite weak, right? So we can just take, and if they take, we can go here. Okay, so this is a very strong attack. So let's say if the king comes to b3, now you can go knight c5, exposing the king further into attack. So if the king comes here, we can say it's over, right? So we can just force a checkmate like this, queen to b5, and there is no defense at all. So it's over. Okay, so and also other moves are not going to help. Let's say other moves like rook a1, rook a1. Well, it looks like they technically defended the a4 square, but we can push this pawn to expose the king and make it more vulnerable, right? So if they take knight takes or pawn takes, in both cases, knight c3 gives a strong checkmate, and if king comes here, king is exposed, right? So rook b8, it should be over now. Okay, so let's say after bishop d5, now they make a very strong move, knight e4. So knight e4 is also attacking the bishop, and we won't be able to take because of the pin. Okay, so here now how to continue with black. Normally, if we take on e4, let's say they would take, and okay, it takes some time to attack, but still, we have much better ideas here to attack. See, here also knight c3 works, but it takes some time, okay, because it makes the king position exposed. But what we can do here, we need to maintain this bishop here to attack, because we need to maintain some power to attack. If this bishop is exchanged, we don't have much power to open up the king. Okay, so now black makes a very strong move. Can you spot it? What is the move that black made here? Knight on f6. I mean, bishop on f6 is hanging, but still the counter attack. So knight to c3, strong. So knight c3 check. Okay. So the point is, if they take with the knight, we can open the king position. So there's no problem. We can just take it, and the pawn structure is going to collapse, and they will have weakness on the dark squares, and it's going to be mated soon. So they have to play king a1, or they have to accept the knight. King a1 is also not good, because we got more pieces around the king. Okay, so this is not difficult, and here back rank problem is there. So we can normally take take takes and queen c2. See, this is a very strong shot. Okay, so game is over. They can't defend like this, because we can take, they take, and then we can get the rook. Okay, so knight c3 is too strong. So let's say they take it. Now the chain pawns are broken. Okay, so once the pawn structure is weakened, the king side becomes more vulnerable, because it's getting more exposed to attack. Okay, so what we can do, we can demolish the other pawn also with the bishop sacrifice, bishop, to make the king even more vulnerable. Okay, so now they have few options: king b2, king a1, or king takes. King takes, you can just go with the check, and okay, if they go king b1, we can just take on c3, just open the line. Knight f6, there's no problem, because knight f6 we can just move away. We can just move away, and then still it's exposed to attack. See, so many threats. Queen b4 is the main threat, because we want to force a mate. Yeah. Okay, and if they don't take, let's say if they play something like king a1, since there is no pawn cover, the king is vulnerable, so we can just set attack here. And if they take, we can come closer. Now you see the point is bishop b3. It's over now, because knight f6 is the same thing, king h8, and after this there's no check, so it's over. And let's say they move the king to b2, king b2, we can take, and this is coming more faster. You see, attack, and if they go there, it's going to be the same thing, queen a5. So after knight e4, you see knight c3. The sacrifice makes the king position more vulnerable, because there is no much pieces on the white king side. So the king becomes weak and exposed to attack. So once there is weakness, the position becomes vulnerable, and you have to identify where there is weakness, and once you identify that, then you can start attacking, because you will come to know about the vulnerability. Like you can feel that, like due to the absence of pieces, you can feel. Once you find it vulnerable, then you have to see the attacking forces, then you have to bring those forces to that side. So that's why you see they never took on e4, they just retained the piece, because you need this bishop to open. So after knight c3, it's over. Okay, so we'll see more ideas related to this in the upcoming lessons. Thank you.